Alright guys, so in today's video we're going to be going over the two characters coming out in the second half of the Honkai Star Rail 2.1 patch, Aventurine and Jing Liu. And we're going to be going over their kits and letting you free to play, beginner, and middle of the road players know if you should be summoning on them or not. And mostly, this is also a good video for me as I haven't gone over Aventurine's kit in full. Like, I've used them in the story as they let you use them in the Honkai Star Rail 2.1 story, The Devil in Velvet, I believe that's what it's called. But I haven't gone over his kit exactly. I've watched a few things, but I haven't gone over it myself. So this will be a learning experience for both of us. So anyway, let's dive straight into it. So Aventurine, he's a 5-star character, and he is imaginary, and he follows the path of preservation. And from what I've seen, he's one of the best preservation characters, even in certain aspects, beating out Fu Xuan. So we're going to go over his basic attack. Is he deals imaginary damage equal to 100% of Aventurine's defense to a single target enemy. So that's basically the whole thing of Aventurine. His whole kit, instead of scaling off his attack, it scales off his defense. So ideally, you want to build him with basically not everything, but a lot of your stats in defense. And we're not going to go over substats, as those are a whole other headache to deal with. So, but his basic attack, when you level it, that's like one of the last things you want to level because you won't be using it a lot. And so now, the next thing we're going to be going over is his skill, Cornerstone Deluxe. He provides all allies with a fortified wager shield that can block damage equal to 24% of Aventurine's defense plus 322, lasting for 3 turns. When repeatedly gaining fortified wager, the shield effect can stack up to 200% of the shield provided by the current skill. So, by this wording, I'm not fully into like how the game works and everything, but the way shields work before in Japard and Fire MC, in their cases, if the characters already have a shield and you reapply the shield, it's gonna completely refresh it. But the wording of Aventurine's skill shows that it will stack on top of it. So whatever shields they have before, the 24% plus 320 shield of fortified wager will just stack on top of it up to 200%. So yeah, right there, Aventurine, he's probably a already great character to summon for, just for probably that alone. And so now his ultimate, he randomly gains 1 to 7 points of blind bet, then inflicts unnerve to a single target enemy lasting for 3 turns and deals imaginary damage equal to 270% of Aventurine's defense to the single target enemy. When an ally hits an unnerved enemy target, the crit damage dealt increases by 15%. So yeah, his ultimate, it's really good. I just hate the gotcha aspect to it, which the fact it's like it's random, it's not exactly not a pinpoint number, as that was one thing I didn't like from using him in the story, was the fact his ultimate was like, all right, you got to hope to get it. All right, so now his talent. The effect res increases by 50% for a single ally with fortified wager. So effect res is your chance to not get hit by crowd control. So the horses from the Antimatter Legion, when they shoot you with the bow and a chance to hit you with entanglement, basically making your character wait, that effect res for your allies, it's a 50% chance. So it's basically a coin flip on whether or not they will get entangled. Or say, for instance, you're fighting Kafka and Simuni, and the chance for you to get dominated.
What did he say?
Basically, again, it's another coin flip on whether those characters will or not. And when an allied character gets attacked, Aventurine gains 1 point of blind bet. And so when Aventurine has fortified wager, so his shield up, he can resist crowd control debuff. So this is a guaranteed 100%. So he cannot be entangled, dominated, anything like that. But once it's done, he has to wait 2 more turns. So if he gets hit by any CC before that 2-turn limit, he will get crowd controlled, basically. And eventually, additionally, gains 1 point of blind bet after getting attacked. Upon reaching 7 points of blind bet, Aventurine consumes the 7 points to launch a 7-hit follow-up attack, with each hit dealing imaginary damage equal to 25% of Aventurine's defense to a single random enemy. Blind bet is capped at 10 points. Alright. So yeah, basically his whole thing. You want to build up your blind bet points by your allies and by your allies and him getting attacked, so he can do his follow-up attack. And then it will also, if we go down here to his major traces, we'll come back to his technique. We're mostly going over his battle, his things that happen in battle. We go to his Bigo trace. After an ally fortified wager launches a follow-up attack, Aventurine accumulates 1 blind bet point. This effect can trigger up to 3 times, and its trigger count resets at the start of Aventurine's turn. After Aventurine launches his follow-up talent, his talent's follow-up attack provides all allies with a fortified wager that can block damage equal to 7.2 of Aventurine's defense plus 96. And additionally grants a fortified wager that can block damage equal to 7.2 of Aventurine's defense plus 96 to the ally with the lowest shield effect lasting for 3 turns. Oh god. Hiccup. Yeah, so that's what it is. So you can run him in any team, but he ideally wants to be run of characters that can launch follow-up attacks. So his ideal team is Dr. Ratio, Topaz, basically the 2 characters who are follow-up attack characters. Or he can be run with Clara, but ideally you run him with those 2, as not only will their follow-up attacks build up his fortified wager and allowing him to use his talent, but also, for instance, in Topaz's case, I believe, I don't know if it works this exact way, but hold on. Oh god. I don't know if it works like this, but basically if the talent goes off and it hits someone, and say it has the mark that allows Numby to attack, it will allow Numby to attack and as well give him another blind bet point. So ideally, again, that's his perfect team you run him with, but you can run him outside. Like I have ideas to run him with maybe replacing Fire MC on a team with Jing Liu when I pull her, and we can do something like that. But again, that's not his ideal team, but it'll work. So his other major trace is Hot Hand. When battle starts, grant all allies a fortified wager shield, whose shield effect is equal to 100% of the one provided by the skill, lasting for 3 turns. And then his second major trace, for every 100 of Aventurine's defense that exceeds 1,600, increases his own crit rate by 2% up to a maximum of 48%. So obviously these numbers aren't official, as they were in the Hoyo versus like special, I don't know, how do I say it? Like their content creator server basically. So these numbers are not official. They could be changed at any point. This is basically what it's going to be for now. And so we're going to go over to his technique, the red or the black. So after using the technique, one of the following effects will be granted. There's a chance for defense to be increased by 24%. There's a high chance for defense to increase by 36%. There's a small chance for defense to increase by 60%. When this technique is used repeatedly, the acquired effect with the highest buff value is retained. When the battle starts, increase all allies' defense by the corresponding value lasting for 3 turns. So yeah, this is basically just, again, just gacha with, basically gacha within a gacha, but not to an extreme amount, like say Qing Chui, for instance. He is, I don't know, I wouldn't really use the technique all that much outside of battle, me personally. Let's go down. So here's his minor traces. Now we're going to go over his Eidolons. So as I said in my Acheron summon videos, do not summon for Eidolons. If in your initial summon you pull, say, I don't know, pull them up to E1, say you pull 2 and 1, that's it. Stop there. Don't go anymore. Unless you absolutely want to, but even then I suggest don't. So his E1, Prisoner's Dilemma, increases crit damage by 20% for allies with fortified wager. After using the ultimate, provide all allies with a fortified wager shield, whose shield effect is equal to 100% of the one provided by the skill, lasting for 3 turns. His E2, Bounded Rationality. When using basic attack, reduce the target's all-type res by 12% for 3 turns. His E3 is an ultimate and basic attack cap raise, so basically you gain extra points on there. So his E4, Unexpected Hanging Paradox. Okay, I thought it said Hangling for some reason. When triggering his talent's follow-up attack, first increases Aventurine's defense by 40% for 2 turns, and additionally increases the hits per action for his talent's follow-up attack by 3. Hits per action. So what, does that increase from the... Does that increase the 7 hits from 10? Am I reading that right? Just increase the hits per action for his talents. I guess that's because how I'm reading it additionally increases the hits per action. Okay, I think that increases the 7 hits from 10. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. So his E5 is a skill and ultimate level up, and his E6 Stag Hunt game. For every ally with a shield, the damage dealt by Aventurine increases by 50% up to a maximum of 150%. So what I think for Aventurine, reading his kit, he is very good. I definitely think if you're at any point in the game, this is a character you should pick up, whether you're just starting, middle of the road, or even like you have like Fushuen, for instance. I still think you pick up Aventurine just because of his fortified wager shield alone being so good. I think you should pick him up no matter what. As I said, he is a must pull, I think, for anyone. And so now, if we're not missing anything, okay, here's are the stats of materials right here that you need. You can screenshot it, do whatever. So for now we're gonna go over to the rerun for this patch. Jing Liu, a very good character, DPS character who has stood the test of time, unlike Sela. And even when Acheron was coming out, people were saying that Jing Liu was better than Acheron, which I, for one, was like, no, I think Jing Liu, I don't think she is comparable to Acheron. Acheron, what she can do with just 2 Nihility characters, or even 1 if you pulled the E2 like I did, she is far and away the best damage DPS of all times. Honestly, if you skipped out an Acheron, you're going to be hurting till that rerun comes back. And so anyway, we're not here. This is not an Acheron Glaze video. We're here to talk about Jing Liu. So she's a 5-star character of the Ice Element who follows the path of destruction. So destruction characters are pure DPS, but they have a bit of health on them. They can tank. So we're going over her basic attack deals ice damage equal to 100% of Jing Liu's attack to a single enemy. Yeah. So again, for a lot of these characters, basic attack, you don't care about it. So her skill, Transcendent Flash, deals ice damage equal to 200% of Jing Liu's attack to a single enemy and obtains 1 stack of Syzygy. I believe that's how it said. And so with these, so now we're going to go down to her talent first. So her talent, Crescent Transmigration. When Jing Liu has 2 stacks of Syzygy, I believe that's how you say it, she enters the Spectral Transmigration state with her action advanced by 100% and her crit rate increased by 50%. Then Jing Liu's skill, Transcendent Flash, becomes enhanced and turns into Moon on Glacial River, and becomes the only ability she can use in battle. When Jing Liu uses an attack in the Spectral Transmigration state, she consumes HP from all other allies equal to 4% of their respective max HP. This cannot reduce allies' HP to lower than 1, so you cannot die when you're in the Spectral Transmigration state. And so ideally you do want to, again, I don't think I have to say this, but you should run a healer, obviously. Jing Liu's attack increases by 540% of the total HP consumed from all allies in this attack, capped at 180% of her base attack, lasting until the current attack ends. Jing Liu cannot enter the Spectral Transmigration state again until the current Spectral Transmigration state ends. Jeez. Syzygy can stack up to 3 times. When Syzygy stacks become zero, Jing Liu will exit the Spectral Transmigration state. And so this is where her enhanced skill, Moon on Glacial River, she deals ice damage equal to 250% of Jing Liu's attack to a single enemy, and deals ice damage equal to 125% of Jing Liu's attack to adjacent enemies. Consumes 1 stack of Syzygy. Using this ability does not consume skill points. And then her ultimate, Floor Ephemeral Dream Flux. Okay, that's a tongue twister. Deals ice damage equal to 300% of Jing Liu's attack to a single enemy, and deals ice damage equal to 150% of Jing Liu's attack to any adjacent enemies. Gain 1 stack of Syzygy after the attack ends. And so, those of you who've played Honkai Star Rail for a while, and you have Jing Liu, or you've seen videos about her, you'll know that, as her talent says, she can stack Syzygy up to 3 times. So ideally what you do is, if you're not running a Bronya on your team, which fortunately I don't have her, so it's probably going to be weird running Jing Liu for a bit, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to build up your skill, and if you get your ultimate, you'll want to hang on to it until you enter the Spectral Transmigration state. And then, so she has her 2 stacks built, and then you'll want to ult. So you'll get the 3rd stack, allowing you to sit in there for 3 turns. And so, again, we'll come back to her technique, as that'll be something after her Eidolons. So here's our major traces. In the spectral transmigration state, increases effect res by 35%. And her second one, Sword Champion. After using Transcendent Flash, the next action will be advanced forward by 10%. And the final one, Frost Wraith. When the spectral transmigration state, increases ultimate damage by 20%. So ideally, without even looking at her Eidolons, I'd say the build, which not actually, you know what? I don't know if I want to recommend builds because I'm not that person you come to, but I'd say with just right here, her skill saying she has crit rate increased by 50%. This is when it's maxed out. So when you're at talent level 10, but I think at least 7 or 8, I think it's like 45, right? Yeah, it's like 40. Okay, yeah, 48. Yeah, 7, 8 is like 48. Okay, yeah. So right about there, you don't have to worry about getting a crit rate. Really worry about getting a crit rate piece. You will probably want to replace, say, for instance, your crit damage, like a crit rate body piece. You'll replace that for a crit damage piece instead, because like basically, the way crit rate works, for those of you who don't know, crit rate is basically that chance for you to crit. And so crit rate and crit damage are separate things. As I just said, crit rate is the chance for you to crit, and crit damage is how much you're going to do when you crit. So ideally, again, you'll want your crit rate around about 50%. So that means every hit there's a chance, there's like a coin flip chance for it to crit or not. So in her talent basically gives you that 50%, basically automatically gives you that coin flip. So you'll just want to build crit rate and attack on the rest of her pieces, and possibly speed or attack boots. Again, I'd say the speed attack boots depends on the character you're running in of itself. And so now we'll go down, and so now we'll talk about her Eidolons. So E1, Moon crashes Tian Guan Gate. I guess that's how you say it. When using her ultimate and her hand skill, Jing Liu's crit damage increases by 24% for one turn. If one enemy target is attacked, the target will additionally be dealt ice damage equal to 100% of Jing Liu's attack. Her E2, Crescent Shadows Quicksing Dipper. After using ultimate, they increase the damage of the next enhanced skill by 80%. Her E3 is an ultimate and talent raise. E4, Lunar Lace Shines Skyward Dome. Oh, sorry, that was a burp. During the spectral transmigration state, the attack gained from consuming allies' HP is additionally increased by 90% of the total HP consumed from the entire team. The cap for attack gained this way also increases by 30%. Her E5 is a skill and basic attack level up. Her E6, Eclipse Hollow's Corporeal Husk. When Jing Liu enters the spectral transmigration state, the Syzygy stacks limit increases by 1, and Jing Liu obtains 1 stack of Syzygy. While she's in the spectral transmigration state, her crit damage increases by 50%. Alright. So down here, here's all the ascension materials. Everything you need. You can screenshot as usual. So now Jing Liu, what I think, beginning, like you're starting the game, as always, when I give this advice, this is for if you're wanting to pull for meta. And what I always say, and like a lot of people will say at any game, don't pull for meta. It's not good. It's not a good way to enjoy the game, is what I'm trying to say. Because the meta is always shifting, especially with DPSs. You never want to pull a character because they're meta, because then once they fall out of meta, it's just you're gonna have basically not have a fun time. So what I think for her, if you're starting the game, don't summon for her. She's not that she's going to need a lot of investment, but ideally you'll want characters like Bronya or Sparkle, characters that can help her advance forward. As Sparkle, for instance, she has not had a rerun banner yet, so obviously she just came out last patch, so it's probably not for a while. And Bronya you can always get, but with the investment you'll need for Jing Liu, ideally you'll want another Harmony character. It's Harmony, for those of you who don't know, Harmony in this game allows you to buff characters. So, for instance, you'll probably want a Ting Yun or a Ruan Mei on the team. Ideally Ting Yun, because you only need a single target, specifically her, if you're playing hyper carry. So, I think you don't summon for Jing Liu if you're beginning of the game. And I say middle of the road, it depends on your account. If you have the things I said, you have a good buffer and a good sustainer. So, like, for instance, my team, what it's going to be is, if I pull Aventurine, you can switch Aventurine with the first one. My sustain / tank is going to be fire MC. My support is going to be Ting Yun, and the sustainer is going to be Lynx. And so you slot Jing Liu in right there, and I think she'll just do fine. She'll be able to take on most things pretty easily. So that's what I think you should do with her. Or at least that's what I'm doing. You could switch if you have Fire MC built. You can go. If you don't have Fire MC built, or you don't want to use them, and you have Japard, you could switch Japard in there, or you could put Fush One. Or, as I said before, you can put Aventurine in there, and he'll probably work just as good, probably better than those other two options I gave. So again, I'm gonna repeat this right now. Aventurine, he's a definite pull for everyone, no matter what stage you are in the game. Jing Liu is, I'd say, only middle of the road / end game accounts. And so that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Happy gaming.